Let's do this. Can you hear it? You gonna use your headphones or you're an amateur?
I suppose.
Shawn McNair.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
What's going on?
How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, Brad?
I'm doing great. Good to see you, Shawn. It's been too long.
It has been.
Too long.
How you been?
I've been great, man. I've been just playing bass and sucking at comedy and enjoying your videos online.
Oh, you.
I should tell you, you should probably stay close to that if you want the people to hear what you have to say.
I'm sorry. I'm not. If I don't have a guitar, I'm fucking useless. So.
We should just put some overdrive on the mic and.
Yeah. Do you want my pedal board to be like so you have something to tap on with your feet?
Yeah. I don't know. Fucking. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I mean, if you want me to, I can turn the level up and you could sit further back.
Nah, that's all right.
Okay. Can you hear him? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we'll
great.
do it. Welcome to the Mink and the Monk.
Sweet.
That's Brad Monkell. I'm Matt Fink, and this is Shawn McNair. You're doing good.
Right. Am I?
Are you? No, are you? That's a question. You doing all right?
In life or in
in killing zombies. How's the? Let's start off proper.
Right, that's a subject I can start off on. I actually haven't played zombies in a while. I've been playing Warzone 2.
You said that was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
It's better.
I don't think so because like they changed a lot of stuff, so it's not. I don't think it's as good as Warzone. Like when we were playing, like that was.
Oh, that was when you were airdropped in. That's Warzone.
You're still like airdropped in this one, but it's just different. Like they switched up like the loadouts and all that stuff, and it's a lot like slower paced, which I kind of like. But
I would like that too because I was straight up getting murdered pretty.
But it's also really funny to like seeing you try to.
Yeah, I died a lot. I was getting better at the zombie part of it.
You were. That was a lot of fun.
That started to get fun, but I was spending way too much time doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you would send a text at like midnight, "Hey, we're going on," and yeah, it was screwing up
2020, baby. There's nothing going on.
There was you're right. Oh, that was just shy of the pandemic, or was that in the pandemic?
That was definitely in it.
Okay,
sure.
so it was 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I remember. I was rewatching that clip that you sent me like a while ago of like this podcast when you were talking to Pat.
Oh yeah,
about it.
Yeah,
and like how you were up until like 3:30 or something. And
yeah,
like,
and I was having nightmares when I closed my eyes.
Voice crack.
What's that?
You like that voice crack there?
Yeah. Was it yours or mine?
No, it was mine.
Oh, okay.
It was big time mine.
Dude, is it just the effect I have on you, or?
I mean, you were there with all your muscles and everything. I mean, I can't help it.
Is it lighting
Brad
right
there
for them?
with this haircut, man. I can't.
I can tell you've been working out too, man. You're one to talk.
Stop.
I can see it.
So you have creepy eyes. Brad's voice. Did you hear how it got a little deeper and smoother as he was complimenting you? It's definitely made me uncomfortable.
A smooth radio voice. I see you doing the shifts on that. What station you do it on?
I don't do it anymore.
Oh, you don't? All right, never mind then. Fuck.
But it's okay. I left of my own accord.
Gotcha.
It's all right. Thank you though.
Just like my wife.
Thank you for
She left in her Honda Accord. Oh wait, no, Brad has the Accord. Yeah, and we're almost in Accord.
Oh yeah, we
town
are.
of.
We're pretty
Yes.
close. I was gonna say, dude.
What?
They're gonna dox you now.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of people in Accord, definitely that are gonna. Yes, definitely.
I've never fucking heard of that, and I live like a half hour away.
You live in Newburgh.
Mm.
Yeah, it's more like 40 minutes. Don't put me that close to that town.
That's true.
It's not exact. We're in it.
But when I'm doing 90 and a 30, it's
Be
about
careful.
a
They
half hour.
will. They will force you to finish middle school here if you get caught doing a 90 and a 30. Anyway,
Isn't that what the movie Billy Madison's about?
yes, exactly. Yeah. So let's talk about it. I met you in college.
Yes.
You are a fantastic guitarist.
Debatable.
Virtuoso.
Virtuosic
Stop.
ability. Recording engineer, would we put that on there? Okay. You have what looks to be a growing YouTube presence, although you're having we could talk about some of these copyright things, which would be great to talk about, because a lot of people are having this issue and trying to put out content, and at what point are you taking money out of somebody else's pocket, or are you just doing something that's worthy of checking out and a different take on it, but still getting punished we talked about this with Dean DeMarzo and via Rick Beato talking about it when he did with his series.
He's awesome. I love him.
Yeah, he's fantastic. But he got a strike because
he took that shit to court, right?
Yeah,
he went nuts with that. It's awesome. Like,
yeah, I didn't know about the court. I heard him talk about it, but I didn't know it went. So it actually went.
I think it might even been Congress or something. Like he testified in front of.
Okay.
Or something like that. Sorry to interrupt and absolutely kill the momentum of that.
No, he has what? 3 million subscribers, 2.5.
Like
it's a lot, and he puts out a lot of great content. And I didn't understand, like he put at the things that he was talking about, where they take the money from, because he's getting massive amounts of views. So anyway, we don't have to start right there. But I'm just going through the list of things that make you interesting. Zombies,
very short list.
Guitar. Zombies, recording, videos. I'm trying to think of what else. Anything else in your...
I mean, I did see a video on your Instagram of you playing bass and sounding awesome at that too.
Also drums.
Drums. That's like, I love playing drums. I'd say besides guitar, like that's...
Yeah.
If I had to pick one instrument, it'd definitely be drums. I just have so much fun.
Drums are fun as hell.
The shit out of...
Yeah, I mean, that's why those are there. I'm not very good at it, but I enjoy pounding on them. Much like Brad.
But your EP with Last of Fall that came out recently sounds awesome, and I'm definitely interested to know more about exactly what role you played and all that stuff, because you know, from the production side of things to the video editing, I know you've got a lot going on. But
yeah, the production end of that, like it wasn't me doing like the producing of that. We were working with this guy, Tim Lynch. Have you heard of Tim?
I know that name. I can't remember.
He's at the recording company, it's called, and he does a lot of like local like Albany bands and, you know, other bands and shit like that. He's fucking awesome. I loved working with him. He's so much fun. When we were recording it was kind of a weird time because it was still like COVID going on and all that shit, so it was like so hard to, you know, schedule. Then I ended up getting COVID twice. He ended up getting COVID, so it's like, you know, that right there took out like, you know, probably 3 months of the process. Like,
wow.
Just, you know, and then like he had a lot of bands that were coming in that he had to reschedule around that. So I think the whole process ended up taking probably about like, I don't know, probably about a year to do like 5 songs. And, you know, 2 songs were already pretty much done that we recorded beforehand and released. But we wanted to remix them for the EP, so they kind of sounded like closer to, you know, the new songs that we were recording. And it was a really fun process, but it was so stressful, man.
Oh yeah,
just getting those songs done.
I can tell a lot of work went into it. I think you could almost call it an album. I mean, they're long songs. They're very well written. I gotta
work on not as long songs.
Well, but I think that's fitting for, I mean, I guess the genre. I mean, I would also love to talk about how you identify within genre terms, but just as far as like writing the songs and planning the EP for the band, are you the main songwriter when it comes to?
For some of them, like I had some songs done, I think maybe even like before the band started, or like, you know, as it was coming together. So I think there's maybe like, I think 3 of the songs are like just my songs that I wrote, but like, I mean, all the guys like have played a part in them, so it's not like I'm just like, here's what you're playing now. Like I don't want to do that. I always want it to be like a collaborative thing. So like I don't want to just like solely take credit for that. But I think Red Snow was, I'd say, mostly me and Paul. Like I wrote parts, like I think like the verse, like that was mine. But like he wrote a majority of the stuff that I'd consider like the hooks of the song. So like that one, like Heaven You Made was kind of me. It was more so me writing the riffs for that. But yeah, just stuff like that. In Vivid Eternal is one that I've had for like a long time. I remember recording that, I think in like, I don't know, I want to say like sophomore year of college or something. I forget what fucking year that was, but like,
it's probably 4 years ago, right? I mean, you graduated 2 years ago? Or is it?
I think so. Yeah.
I think
I
so.
lost all fucking track of time. Like
COVID.
Yeah. I gotta start writing shit down because I forget like so many things. I've been trying to like sit down and write almost like a diary or something just so I can like keep track of shit that goes on. But like I always get too lazy.
Yeah, I hear you. Like I used to try to do that before bed, and I'd be just like too tired to do it, and then I would try to do it when I woke up, but I wouldn't remember what I did the day before. So I get it as a means of trying to keep track of what's going on. Mm-hmm. It's a good thing to do if you can get yourself to do it. Yeah, and then like I start talking to people, I'm talking about something, I'm like, oh yeah, like 5 years ago, I did this thing, and they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? That was a year ago. Just like dumb shit like that.
Yeah. So when you're writing the songs, or like as you conceptualize the music for the band, are you trying to get across like a specific picture with like the music or the way the songwriting is done? Is it like, oh, like each of these is a different story that we're telling, or like I don't know, like I don't know the details of all the lyrics, so I don't even necessarily know what the individual songs are like about. But is there a unifying idea that brings all the songs together, or like a type of storytelling or exposition that you use in as far as like what you think the songs should sound like, as far as like the meaning behind them?
As far as like the meaning, I don't think there's anything that really like totally connects everything. Like a lot of the stuff I write about sometimes is like really like personal stuff about like anxiety or like depression or some shit like that, where like In Vivid Eternal is definitely about like anxiety and stuff like that, because I've been dealing with that like pretty much as long as I can remember, like my whole life. Other songs like Forgiveness, I think, was the first song that I like really tried to write lyrics for, and like that was the first kind of like complete song that I did, and like it was just kind of like, I don't know, I think it was like about somebody like capturing people and then like murdering them, and then like
you wrote the lyrics I remember you showed me a bunch of your lyrics.
Yeah, and like probably 99% of them were fucking awful, but like
not awful, but heavyweight. There was no puppies and rainbows in anything that you were writing about. It was
like I mean I try to write lyrics in a way where it's like not, and I've definitely shied away from like the like brutal lyrics, I guess, because like I don't like writing shit like get fucked with a knife, like I don't know. I mean, I save that for my personal life, and then, but
for the poetry jam.
Exactly. But yeah, I try to like write brutal lyrics in a way that's not brutal, I guess. Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, no, I know what it's like to like music that is more brutal than you would necessarily like to express yourself. Like when I was really into punk rock, I was really into like this band Leftover Crack, and they'd be singing about like shooting cops and doing heroin, and I didn't like any of that stuff, but I liked the music. But like, so I get the sense of like us like knowing the sound you like, but not necessarily trying to go for that like crazy edgy like persona. But I don't know, do you consider yourself like a big fan of metal, or is it like a genre thing for you, or where you feel at home in like the sound that is like what you want to be your voice? Do you feel like genre terms can really help you get closer to that?
I don't know, I try not to like write lyrics and stuff like thinking like oh, it's got to be metal, so it's like got to be brutal, like I just kind of write what I'm feeling and like try to I don't know, somehow fit in some rhymes in there at some point. I don't know. Like one of the songs, I think like in Forgiveness, there's like some parts about like doing drugs and shit like to cope with like the regret the dude has, and like I mean I don't do that allegedly. No, but no,
you don't have regrets.
Yeah, that's no, but
you're like there's storytelling elements to it. Obviously.
Yeah, it's just like story writing and stuff. It's nothing like I guess what I'm trying to say, I guess it just depends on the song and like what I'm trying to convey. Something like In Vivid Eternal, like that's like stuff that like I really do deal with, but then like stuff like Forgiveness, it's like writing a fiction thing or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Do fans pick up on that? Like has anyone ever messaged you and been like, oh, it's like I'm glad you wrote a song about anxiety, because I feel that way? Have you had any like people reach out in that way?
No. I there's like been a couple of people that have like messaged and been like, oh, I'm listening to, this song is really cool, stuff like that. But
no anxious ones.
No. Yeah, no, but yeah, like a couple of like my friends have said, they like the lyrics and stuff, but I don't know. Well,
yeah,
I think like 60 people have listened to In Vivid Eternal on Spotify, so
it still has the lesser than 1,000. Okay.
Big time.
Yeah, I'm into it. I have a lot of those. Anxiety. You want to talk about it?
Yeah. Let's do it.
No. Is there anything you don't want to talk about regarding that? I'm curious as to when that kind of thing started for you, because I know when that started for me, it was as I was transitioning out of the home, like getting when you start to realize that there's a world out there that's bigger.
Oh yeah, that's just scary as
yeah, and I was overwhelmed with it when I was for me that kind of stuff started when my dog died. Like I had this dog this Great Dane named Cecil, and he died I think when I was 16. We had him for 9 years, however long, something like that. But when that hit, that just literally pulled any grounding. It just pulled the carpet out from underneath me. And for years I struggled with feelings of just anxiety at not feeling secure. And I don't know when that started for you, but I've heard you talk about this, but I was just curious the other thing I was curious about is, do you find it worse when you have less to focus on? Because that's what happens to me when I don't have enough things to focus on. Even TV can kind of snap you out. Just reading of something, anything to occupy the energy, the frenetic energy of the mind.
For me, it's like once I get a thought of something like recently I've been having like heart palpitations and stuff like that. So like, but I've been to so many doctors that say like it's not a heart problem, it's like a muscle thing. But as soon as I get it, I'm like, I just had a heart palpitation.
You mean skipping beats?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then like I can't stop thinking about that. And like all day, it's just like it somehow just ends up like I have heart cancer. I don't even know if that's a fucking thing. Like, no, it's hilarious. Please laugh at me.
I don't think there's heart cancer, but there could be. I don't
know. I'm no doctor.
No, but if I've had these same.
But I'd convince myself that even if I look it up on like fucking WebMD or something, which I should never do.
You should never
if there's a condition that doesn't exist, I'll convince myself I fucking have it.
Well, the internet is strict. It's like there's a few stops along the way, but if it's anything to do with health, it always ends as cancer. Yeah. You're like, oh, this is that. Oh, you have cancer.
Yeah. And then somehow I end up on X videos, and like I don't know how that.
Let's ask young Jamie if there's heart cancer. I don't know if there is. However, the worrying about it, I'm sure, gets your adrenaline going. And
I'm a huge hypochondriac, and that's just like, this is all stuff like I've been trying to work on. I think it's all related recently.
And I'm not a doctor, but I think it's like panic and anxiety are definitely fueled by your own mind. And if you're hyper aware of it, it just makes it that much easier to not pay attention to. So I get it. I don't know if you've ever done a behavioral therapy.
I tried. Well, are you talking like therapists and stuff?
Well,
like
there's medication. That's one road with this, and the other one is changing your behavior. So seeing a behaviorist, or I think that's what it is. But there's a program that I remember doing 25 years ago called MAP. And it was this doctor, and I'm sure they've made huge strides with this, but this doctor wrote this book, and MAP stands for Managing Anxiety and Panic. And what the first part, it's a program you do with this doctor that I was seeing at the time, so, gave me this book, and we kind of worked out of it. But the important part of it was keeping a journal. Every time you had a panic attack, you wrote down what you were thinking. why it happened. Because usually, I don't know how it is for you, but usually you think yourself into a frenzy.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
It's like it just can't stop.
And it's snowball. You start with the premise, whatever it is. But if you allow yourself, you'll be wound up and you'll be in full-blown panic. And when the panic subsides, you have anxiety about having another panic attack.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like what started it all for me, like the snowball.
Yeah.
I think it was like, I want to say the first time I ever had a panic attack probably wasn't like when I started dealing with this like all the time. I think it was when I was really young. And like
really young. Like what's really young?
Probably like, I don't know, like 7, 8, something like that. Because I would
you
go
remember
over
the feeling.
Yeah, I would go over to my friend's house and like we would like be like playing with, I don't know, Spider-Man action figures or something in the basement. But like one day I think like his parents weren't home or something, and you know we went upstairs because we were having a sleepover or something, and like I don't know, it was weird. Like like he asked me to go get something from the basement, and like you know I was like. I don't know. It's just one of those things when you're young. It's like all the lights were off. I'm like, that's the scariest shit ever. Like, I do not want to go down there.
Yeah.
And so I ended up going down there, but I was so like panicky doing it that I was already in like kind of like a shaken up state. And then you know we get upstairs and he starts telling me about this. You know the Bloody Mary thing, like. Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah, like if you spin around or some shit, like and I have a candle in the bathroom, like. You know, say Bloody Mary fucking 3 times. I don't know, like this like ghost thing will pop out of the mirror and like kill you or something.
No, I don't know what this is.
Yeah, it was something like that where I remember like I was already kind of shaken up, and then him telling me about that, like I completely just fucking like could not stop thinking about that. And you know, I remember being up at like 1 or 2 in the morning, like just completely frozen, like in my bathroom because like I was.
Wait, at your friend's house or?
Oh no, sorry. This was like that night because I had to go home because I was like so nervous about it, and you know I couldn't get to sleep. And
suffice to say that you were already a little bit out of your comfort zone because you weren't at home.
Right.
Did you have a comfortable home life as a kid?
Yeah, everything was great.
So when you're in a strange environment, it kind of puts you on edge anyway, right? Like
yeah,
I had trouble sleeping
like
at friends' houses. No, I'm just when I was a kid, like a small kid like that. I had trouble sleeping at friends' houses because there was a comfort of being home with my parents and my family that when you took me out of it, I would get antsy.
Yeah, it's weird because I never had that, but like kind of nowadays, almost I'm like having that more.
So you find peace at home.
Yeah.
But I know where your parents are, I guess I should say.
Yeah, but I know I kind of got to work on that, especially like for like, because my main thing that I want to do, like I want to be in a band, like touring, and like that's like just my dream.
Yep.
And obviously I can't be doing that, you know, home. I'm going to have to be away. So, you know, I got to work on it. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, that was the first time I remember like feeling like panic, like straight up, like, oh my God, like frozen in fear type thing. Mm-hmm. And then it's probably a couple years went by. I had it maybe once or twice again, but I didn't really think anything of it. And then maybe around like, I don't know, 13 is when I like really, I think I was on my way to Atlantic City to see Stained for with my dad. Yep. And we were in the car and I remember just like starting to feel sick, but it was like it was a different kind of like sick feeling that I hadn't really had before.
Yep.
So I was like, what the fuck is this? And so like we stopped at a rest stop, you know, I'd like, you know, he was like, you gotta use a bathroom, like throw up, something. Like, what do you have to do? I'm like, I don't know, I just feel like I'm dying. So like he was like, well let's go home then, because you know, but like nothing was like wrong with me, like I wasn't sick or anything, but I was just like so nervous about it. Like even after the sick feeling subsided, I was still nervous about it, and I just didn't know like what it was, because I'd never really like experienced that before. Because this was worse than like the panic attacks I had when I was younger, because now I was like, I mean, I don't want to say like smart enough to like think of
understanding what you're seeing and being aware of it is
exactly. I was more like conscious than I was at like 7, 8, and like had more.
And I'm no doctor. I don't think 2 hours with Stained is going to help.
You would think. I fucking love Stained, so that probably would have helped. It's been a while.
Music
I love it. I can't get enough.
That was their huge. Yeah, I remember that. He's like in a chair in the video or something, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I remember when they first. What year was it that this is like early aughts? No, later.
Probably late 90s.
Late 90s. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I fucking love Stained.
Yeah. No, but, I'm just saying when you feel that way, that maybe it does.
I wish I did go to Atlantic City.
Oh, your
and see
dad took
him
you
because,
home.
Yeah, we ended up going home, but I wish I stuck it out because then probably I wouldn't. Maybe I would have, but maybe it would have been like, okay, like, you know, we did this, it's okay, let's move on. But, you know, I went home and then I was also nervous on top of that like, oh man, I had to like come home, you know, like this must be serious.
Yeah.
And
you have that's straight up anxiety and panic.
for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's like clinically speaking, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. I've been like diagnosed like the whole lot.
But you didn't do a behavioral thing.
I tried doing like therapy stuff, but
like with this book that I was telling you about called Map. It changed my whole. It brought me immediate comfort to know that there's a name for this. Where like you're afraid to tell anybody that you feel this way because you feel like people are judging you and that you feel weak and you can't handle things, and it turns out there's things that make you uncomfortable, and the way the power of the mind is you're trying to think your way out of something that you thought your way into, and it's sort of like meditation. I think we've probably talked about this.
Like, we talked about when I was having like bad stage fright, like in college, especially for my first convo. I remember I was freaking out.
Is that the one when you like run around the entire theater?
That was the second one. The first one was when they told me not to like do the thing behind my head.
Yeah, well, just doing anything with certain people judging you there was going to give anybody anxiety. And it was, that was definitely wrong for anybody to tell you.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah, because I do want to talk about that because that was really funny, and I still like look back on that fondly.
I love the video of you. His second were you even? I don't even know.
I don't know if I saw.
My man got a wireless system.
I bought it just for the convo.
And ran off he's taking a solo and runs.
I don't think I saw that.
Jumps off the stage, runs up the stairs, around the back where Sean Wendell was in the back, and then back down the other side and runs. And while you're soloing, right?
Yeah, so like, all right, so for school, like we have to do, what was it, like twice a semester, once a semester, depending on what grade you were in.
I think it was once a year. Either in the spring or in the fall, right? I don't think it was it both semesters?
That sounds right. It's definitely, that's the max the first year or two.
You had to attend.
Yeah, I think sophomore year was the first year where you had to do one in a year, right? Because I remember picking like which semester I wanted to do it in. And
I do want to come back to this anxiety thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, sorry. I keep
no, not at all. But I'm curious. That's all. But go ahead.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so we have to do a performance for like basically the whole music program. So there's like, I mean, you know, there's like 300 people there or something, which is like
in the music program. When you were there, that was sort of the height in music industry. There was, you talk about music ed and everybody.
I think everyone was there. Right?
Yeah,
so that was when it was in the recital hall.
Yeah, so at the height, I think there was 135 in music industry, and then in music ed, it was somewhere in the. So when you added them all up, there's solid 200 plus people there, if not 300, because then parents would come, and professors would come. So there would be, probably 300 is a good possibility. Was the theater full?
I think so.
That theater held like 350, I think.
Yeah, because like it was weird because I was never really like that nervous about like a performance before, and I'd played before that to like way bigger crowds too. So it's like, but I think it was just because it was my peers and like people that if I fucked up, I'd have to be like seeing. And
I remember talking to you about this. I remember talking to you about this because I couldn't believe that that's how you were feeling when I heard you play. Like no one would ever think that you would.
I'm so insecure about my playing. Even today, like, well, especially now, like nowadays.
But now I'd agree you have reason to be. But back then you sounded great.
I think anyone would believe me.
No, I remember it was a shock to me because your stage, it was amazing. I don't know how you think of this, but as soon as you plug in, you're like a different dude altogether.
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't mean different. Like you forget about. And I remember talking to you about this because once you start to play, you're not in this mindset of insecurity.
Yeah, like whenever I don't have a guitar, it's like I'm thinking in my mind like, I'm trying to visualize like the fretboard and like how I'm gonna play it. And, like I always fuck it up, but it's because it's like muscle memory.
Yeah.
You know, so like when I get the guitar and I'm playing it, like it's totally fine. And in front of an audience, like I'd almost argue like that's when I'm at like my best playing wise, because like that little like extra adrenaline like just pushes me, and I love it. I love every second of being on stage.
It's clear that you do.
Yeah, but like before the performance, I'm just such a wreck, especially the first one when I played.
I remember now having these conversations. It's all coming back to me because I didn't know that you were. I think that was the first time that you told me that, right, that you were feeling that way. Which, I think so. Well, up until that point, I just saw you every week. You came in always prepared and practicing what you were doing. Like, so you had command of what you were doing.
Brian, right?
I never had Brian in my room. But you work like you're constantly practicing, you're constantly working. Like, so the insecurities you were having, when I heard you play it perfectly, like what was the first
Rock and Roll from Led Zeppelin.
Okay, yeah,
because I wanted to do one that left like a lot of room for like improvising and stuff, because that's what I was trying to work on at the time, was like improvising in front of people, because that's definitely like one of my not strong suits, or at least like at the time. I've tried to get better at it, especially over like different chords and stuff. Nowadays, like that's still like that's stuff I got to work on, but back then it was just like even stuff I was comfortable with, like rock or metal. You know, I was still kind of struggling with that, so I wanted to consciously work on that. But there's usually a sound check before the on like I think the Thursday night.
Combo sound check.
Yeah, and then you got to perform Friday morning.
10:20.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Still the same time frame. We were just talking about
that. Sucks.
It's 10. I think it's 10:20 to 11:35, or it's 10:30 to 11:40. It's like 75 minutes, I think. Whatever it is.
Perfect time of day for some shredding.
Yeah, for sure.
Go and have a delicious meal on campus. Be fueled and ready to go.
Yeah. Shitty dining hall food. Fuck that. Fucking garbage.
I think I ate there once, but it was the newer one. I think the dining.
Like Camelot.
I can't remember.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So there's the sound check before the convo.
Yep.
And Sean Wendell, the guy who's like doing, he does like the sound for everything. Like, it's fucking awesome. I love Sean.
I love Sean too.
But when I went up to
shout out Sean Wendell.
But so I went up to do the sound check, and we played. It got to the end, and I wanted to do something like kind of kooky, if you will, at the end. So like I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna put my guitar behind my head and like play like the last solo like that, just to do something a little out of the ordinary or whatever.
Or make it your own. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
or just be an attention-seeking douche, which
I mean, it's rock and roll. You're on a stage, man.
Well,
it's like all eyes on you. That's like you're not, and you're earning that audience. Like you can play. So like that's what that's a rock dude is about, man.
When convocation's about being a good performer, right?
Yeah,
you should be exercising every aspect of performance.
Because I would see a bunch of like the performers, and like nothing against anybody, because like I think everyone there, like obviously they're in school for it, so like they're fucking great, but like a lot of the performances would kind of just be people like standing there and playing awesomely, but it like wasn't really like a show, I guess. Like, and that's the part that excites me, is like concerts that are shows. So I wanted to do something a bit different, and but so we get through the sound check, I do the thing behind my head, and then Sean Wendell was like, he told me something like, I don't think you should do that behind the head thing, because I'm 99% sure they're gonna fail you for that, like the meaning like the ed professors and stuff like that, whoever like I don't know who really determines like the grading.
I never heard any of this. I didn't know that there was.
You didn't?
No.
Yeah, no, I was definitely told to like not do that behind the head thing.
Why?
I don't know, because like
I can understand if you went back and dimed your amp.
I think I did that too.
Well, I mean that, because that just makes it harder for sure. Were these live streamed too?
No. It was okay,
because when he was so the COVID thing happened, and I don't
think I was mic'd up either.
You don't need to be in that room. I mean, it's not a mystery. Without the curtain in the back, I do not enjoy playing. That room's it's meant for acoustic instruments. It's just like, so overdrive, 50 watt, tube amp. It's a problem, probably not, but I love it. I know that it's going to make Shawn's job harder, but
I know. I feel bad. Like, I was a real fucking pain with that stuff sometimes over the years.
I mean, let's get a couple things straight. You're a teenager. Yeah. You're a guitarist. You're a dude. Those three things put together make for somebody who's trying to find themselves in the world, who's trying to explore what's possible. I don't have a problem with that. I know Shawn does, because his needle's going off he can't control it, and I understand it. I understand why sound guys
I get it too. I wouldn't do that nowadays. Like,
no, but there's audience of 300 of your peers there, and you're about to play rock and, like, the name of the tune is rock and roll. Like, just be slightly reasonable. I didn't know. I knew that there was fear, that there was that, let's just say, previous people who were in charge of that had all of these absurd parameters.
Yeah,
and
they wanted me to be, like, respectful to the space.
So playing behind your back, like referencing this guy, that's disrespectful.
Yeah, exactly. That's the part I didn't get, and that's why you know, when I went on to do the actual performance, I was like, you know, telling everybody, yeah, I'm not gonna do that, you know, sure, whatever. And then, of course, I fucking did it. Like, you know, I put the fucking V behind my head, because, I mean, what is this? You know, of course.
How did it sound? Does it sound good?
I mean, I think it was, you know.
I can't remember. I can't remember. I might not have been there, because I don't remember this performance. So I don't even remember it being a problem.
I put it on my YouTube channel. It's on there somewhere, I think.
Oh, you have a YouTube channel?
I do actually.
I will go back and so did the audience go nuts?
Yeah, I think they liked it, but I was really trying, like, almost consciously trying to fail that, because I'm like, if they're gonna put a bunch of restrictions on performance, which, you know, like, that's part of the degree is performance.
I couldn't agree with you more. Like, making a living, you know, and if people who are willing to pay money to see you do that, then that's what you find. That's what you're doing. You're finding out what people want, and so you're throwing things at the wall and see what sticks. So I understand where Shawn was coming from, as far as he's trying to protect you, because they really did.
Yeah, he wasn't the one trying to stop me from it. He was saying, like, the other professors that
they straight up tried to fail before you were there.
Pat Flores, are you gonna say?
No, did they try to fail Pat?
I know he had some issues. It might not have been as, like.
Oh, no. One of his issues was he should have been in honors convo.
Oh, right, that was Pat. Yeah,
like, straight up should have been an honor. He did an incredible performance, and then the same people that would make that judgment didn't go in his and whatever, you know. But that I think that's what you're talking. But there was, prior to you being there was one drummer who had an incredible performance, and they tried to fail because they all had, like, decibel meters.
Yeah, I remember that, because I played drums for my friend Anna's convo.
Okay.
And, like, I had to really, like really take it easy, and like, that's not me at all. I fucking beat the shit out of it.
No, I saw you play Master of Puppets with you played drums on with Drew. Yeah, you weren't taking it easy at all. Yeah, those drums owed you money. Yeah. It was awesome. Yeah, and you know, if it's appropriate and right for the music, I got no problem. I'm a little more, for lack of a better word, I'm not even lax. It's like, that's what you should be doing. Even if you ruffle a couple of feathers, going out into the world with that confidence to be like, that's what you're prepping for. That's the whole point.
That's why I did the wireless thing the next year, is because they didn't fail me for that.
Dude, I love that even more, because
I just wanted to push the envelope. I wish there was more convos that I could have done. Like, that's when COVID, like, you know, that, like, kind of ruined shit, like, after that performance.
I forget what I was nuts when you did that. Like I mean, it was great.
That one's on my YouTube channel too. I watched that sometimes.
That one I've watched a bunch of times. Yeah,
it wasn't my favorite, like, performance, I guess. I think
you're talking about the actual musical part.
Yeah,
of it.
Like, I feel like I was shredding a lot, and I've kind of tried to steer away from that a little bit nowadays, where, like, I want to focus on more, like, melodic stuff, and then, like, kind of easing up to the shred, like, if it fits. And, like, I just I don't know, it wasn't my best performance that time, like, in terms of, like, fitting the music, but I wanted to do something like up the ante a little bit. So I bought a wireless system, and during one of the solos, I went out into the audience, which they definitely told me not to do as well.
No, you not only did you do it, you like sprinted up and those stairs suck.
Yeah, I was
those
worried about
stairs
fucking,
are closer together than normal stairs. The rise is like 4.5 inches or so. So where normally it's 7 inches. Do you remember those stairs?
Yeah.
I gotta look at those stairs when I'm walking in there because they're like, and you sprinted with a guitar, and I'm pretty sure the one of the people that you were concerned about judging you ran right by. Like,
Of course.
That was awesome.
I was so disappointed that the school got shut down. Well, that they didn't fail me. I really wanted to fail because then I would have been like, then I would have caused a problem. Like, you know, like, because, I mean, like, I wanted to, I mean, this sounds more righteous than it really is. Like, I just wanted to kind of let students, like, express themselves, you know, whatever, and do, like, what they want to do. And if that takes me, like, failing, you know, a fucking convo, you know, I'll do it the next semester. I don't give a shit. Like,
right.
I kind of wanted to fight for that, you know, in any way. Like,
it's rock and roll. I mean, that's what it is. That's the whole. I mean, it's silly. It's silly for the main reason that that's not how the actual concert stage works. It might work if you're. I don't know. I saw John Scofield at Lincoln Center in a classical conservatory, and he did the same stuff. He didn't tame his music to fit into that environment.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, you're selling. You ultimately, do you want to make a living? And are you finding out who you are and putting that into the universe and seeing what comes back? That's so awesome. Yeah.
I think the next year I was planning on getting a smoke machine and putting it on my guitar. There's something I remember talking to you about it where I was going to do some like wild shit.
Dude, I would have loved it. Yeah. I never would. Have I ever said to you, don't do that because you're
never.
No.
So I fucking love you.
I mean, how do you? My problem is people who aren't excited about what they're doing. Like every week you were a kid in a candy shop. Like you were always trying to figure out. When you said earlier you didn't like the performance was great. You didn't like something about what you were doing as far as on the guitar. But no one cares.
I know.
And your judging of that is very different than anybody else judging. Everybody else is in awe.
So hard on myself. I know everyone is, but
well, I think there's two things with that I would say is learning to accept that, but also learning just how to deal with judging yourself. And I think that's part of this whole anxiety. I think that's all interwoven because, because like you are confident when you're playing. And so your mind is a very powerful thing. So your mind is going to look for, what's the difference between you and your mind? But you're going to look for reasons to, you're going to try to undermine that everywhere you can because then that leads you to feeling anxious. So it's like a cycle. So no matter I don't think you can practice your way out of that cycle. I think the thing is to acknowledge that you're having these thoughts, but not engage with them, which is where meditation is probably like
I remember we talked about that a lot. Yeah,
because I don't know if you've ever. There's a book called that I told you about. I must have because it's like
Pranayama.
It's a fantastic book.
Yeah, you told me about the book
because it brought me a lot of peace. You know, and the peace came in the one question in there that I never thought to. So like the whole point is to sit quietly without judging your thoughts, just sort of watch them. And the analogy he uses was like a snow globe that you shook up, and you're just watching all these. So those are your thoughts, without judging them, without participating. So like when that thought comes up, it says, "You suck." You're talking not to Brad. When you're talking to yourself, you know, and you've probably said, I don't know what your inner monologue sounds like, but it's probably something along the lines of, you're horrible, you're worthless, you can't play. And everything that you have value in your life, you will undermine.
No, that's just what my parents say.
Yeah. So instead of arguing with those thoughts, because that's what you're probably doing, is you're engaging in them. And it always leads to anxiety. And in between, and panic, which is just a higher concentration of that anxiety, and then the panic will dissipate and you're left with anxiety. you might have convinced yourself that you think you're going to get out of that cycle by using the same tools that got you into that cycle. And that's not ever what's going. If you think that, then you will never end the cycle. If you can watch the thoughts without judging them, this is where that book was incredible to me. Like, because it says, okay, I think it's called the witness. You're witnessing it, but you are witnessing. You're not engaging in it. You're witnessing. And as you do that, it says, the question was, so who's watching? If you're still having the thoughts, who's witnessing?
Yeah.
Which is to say that there's something else. There's a presence of you, that you are not your thoughts. Thoughts are something that occur in you, but you don't have to, that those thoughts are, there's something else that you are that can watch those thoughts. And it's getting in touch with that, or recognizing that will bring you some sort of peace. I'm not saying it's overnight, but I remember I became a much more relaxed, my when you can wrangle this absurd thing that between your ears, and not let it control you, then you'll have more peace. But all these other things, I think, are all offshoots of that. I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying in my own. It's
definitely been controlling me lately, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and the mind is a powerful, there used to be that expression, mind is a terrible thing to waste. And then a friend of mine, I think it was Verna Gillis, who said, she changed the quote to, a mind is a terrible thing. Because it has nothing to do, when you're playing, you're not doing this to you. You're not torturing yourself, right? Like there's peace.
It's like a weird, like, out of body thing that, like, seems like that's the only time where I'm not, like, nervous about shit, is when
it's
I'm
coming
like,
through you though, right?
Yeah,
like, but you're not, that takes up that current. The mind has convinced you that the mind is that it's the most important part, and that if you're not using the mind is what is what is driving you towards anxiety and panic. But when you're playing, what's happening? You've bypassed the whole monologue that you're having, right? There's no room for it. The creative energy is just flowing through you. So how do you put yourself in? That's a meditative state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of like the weirdest experiences I've ever had, and I don't know if you're like the Queen ensemble that we did.
Yeah.
Do you remember like all the stuff that happened like before that with me by any chance?
With your grandmother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, that was one of like the worst times in my life. Like I thought my grandmother had like, you know,
you thought your grandmother was sick.
Yeah, like the doctors even said like, you know, she has cancer, and like you know, all like and like I was just freaking out because I was in Albany, and you know my grandma was home.
Yeah, no, we went. We talked about it that night. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I knew something was bothering you because you were. It's actually a pretty good example of what we're talking about, because you were on stage, but you weren't. That was the
thing. Like before it,
I knew something was wrong. I was like, "This is not stage, Shawn."
Yeah, like I was in the. I remember being in the lobby.
Yep.
Of was that Hearst? Like I was crying my eyes out, just like as people were coming in to like watch the show. They're like, "What the fuck is his problem?"
And I didn't see that. I saw you were in sound check, and I knew something was bothering you. And then you disappeared, so you were out in the lobby.
Yeah.
And then I asked you what was wrong, and then we went and talked. First of all, you should never cry. That's weak.
Yeah, that's true. Goddamn, I'm a weak man.
Yeah, so
I cry like a bitch. Not gonna lie.
No, man, you gotta get that out. And any forms of any way you express yourself is it's not the expression, it's you judging it. And I'm not saying that you're calling yourself a weak. What did you say? A bitch? Whatever it was. Yeah.
No, some other words that I can't say.
No, but just allowing yourself to do that without judging it, you'll be a lot more peaceful about it. But that was an incredibly it was stressful.
Yeah, that was a different scenario where I think anyone would really be upset over that. But
no, it was
in general, like I'm so fucking emotional, but like I'm not embarrassed about that at all. Like I'd rather be, you know, open and, you know, have like let it out than pent it up, because I mean I got enough of that with my nervousness, like pent up, you know. I don't think there's any shame in being, you know, emotional as a dude. I mean, you know, we all got them.
We're human. Yeah. If you have
try to act like a tough guy and say, you know, I don't cry and stuff, you know, like. Well,
you could make the argument that being a sign of toughness is being able to cry.
That's true.
You know, like if it's got to get out, it's got to get out. I have certain songs.
I'm definitely not a tough guy though.
Well, I mean, how are we judging tough? The fact in the morning, you get up, right? You get up, you put some clothes on, you make some breakfast, you go about your day. That takes a certain amount of strength and fortitude. You could let it defeat you before you even got out of bed, and you could stay in bed all day, and you could watch Alone on Netflix, which that'll do it. But I'm saying no, you don't. You get up, you fight. You might not feel comfortable. You might not be happy with what you're doing. You might not be happy with your existing circumstances, meaning you might want more gigs, you might need more money, you might need whatever, but you still get up and you fight. You might not realize the strength in that. And sometimes you cry because life can get a little shitty, or you're born ginger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have ginger in my
I see
my
that.
horrific facial hair.
I thought it was just from sitting next to him. I do too. Well, they're gray now, but they used to be slightly reddish.
Okay.
You guys don't get no cred.
I'm covered in freckles, so I should get some kind of cred because I can't go out in the sun and during the summer at all. I just burn.
All right, fair enough.
I just freckle. Anyway,
I'm Irish, so
same. Yeah.
A lot of people think I do. I'm not. I think I am.
You think you do Irish? You're not Irish?
No.
Oh.
Scandinavian. Among other little things, but
you're Swede.
That's a double. You can't have any sun then. Scandinavian and ginger.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the sun's my mortal enemy.
It really is. It is trying to kill you. It is absolutely trying to straight up murder you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have that light blonde-haired complexion, but that. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's me.
Guy saves money on electricity at night. You don't need as many lights to light up the room. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm just saying that's not weak at all. You get up, you practice, you work on things. And as an artist, you're trying to make your way in the world to survive. And you have to, a lot of people don't realize that about being a musician, is you have to create whatever is going to drive interest in what you're doing, you straight up have to create that. So you're constantly looking for ways to cultivate interest in what you're doing. Or, I mean, your survival is based on that. Am I wrong? Do you not, right?
Well, it's like we were saying, you're an entertainer. Like you have to, it's not just, can I play the lick this way? It's like you have to create, there's pressure on you to create a performance.
Yeah. There's like a bunch of other things too. Like, nowadays especially, it's like not just about the music, which like all the guys that I idolized, I mean, like Dave Mustaine is like my fucking idol.
His interview on Rogan was great. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you listen? Yeah, that was
multiple times. It was cool.
Yeah. That was in August. I remember listening to it on the way down. I was on the road I think we talked. That's when we talked, right? Didn't we talk?
I think so. Sometime around there.
Okay.
So I remember like texting you, just like I was just so upset with like everything. Like, I remember I was freaking out about something. Like I felt like I don't know, nothing was.
Was that when I introduced you to Dean, or is that a different one?
So.
No, that
it
was
sometime around there, maybe a little before. But
okay.
Yeah, I was just like really in a bad spot, and I texted you, and we talked for a bit. So,
I called you.
Yes.
I was in the driveway of the diner.
Nice.
In Kingston, because
Awesome.
I remember talking to you and watching people walk in the door. I stayed in my car, and that's when so when you're creating it, we talked at length to Dean DeMarzo about this, and then I remember you guys were talking. I gave you his contact because he figured out some really cool things and how to develop an audience, and I know that that's what we're talking about, how to create interest in what you're doing. And it's when you don't have that, and you don't have something occupying a very active mind. Could be a job, could be a full-time job that just keeps you in the pocket and from thinking about all these things. Like I need my obsessive stuff is definitely when I'm not teaching and I'm not gigging and I'm just home, I start to have all these other things happen. So I know that being occupied is also, having your mind occupied is a good thing.
Yeah. I guess like the point I was making is that like it's not just about the music anymore, and like my forever, like growing up, since I started doing music, like my goal, like I'm gonna find people, I'm gonna put a band together, and like I'm just gonna be writing music constantly, getting out there touring, doing all that stuff. Like that's just what I want to do. But like as I try to do that, it's like I just realized that nowadays it's so much more than that, and like how these guys like Dave Mustaine did it, you know, back in the 80s. It's like things aren't like that anymore at all. Like you got to be doing like the YouTube stuff, you know, the you know,
but they didn't have the access
media
to the world the way like
I think
companies own that, so you had to do that. That was like one route basically.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's such a good thing and a bad thing at the same time too, because it's like a lot of my time is like dedicated to stuff like that does involve music and like helps the music along, but it's like I can't just be spending my time like writing music or something like I want to, and I don't want to seem like I'm complaining about that, because like I love doing.
It's not a complaint, it's just is what it is.
You know, it's just not what I thought I'd be getting myself into, I guess, is, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I mean, I love doing the videos. It's definitely like a you know, it's a creative outlet, you know, for some things, because I mean, you know, Megadeth is like the band that I really kind of identify with, you know, the most out of everyone, and I feel like there are so many great guitar players and great like iconic guitar parts that like that's what I kind of try to do with my channel a lot, is like take, you know, certain things and then you know, about the songs or something, and you know, what if this guy did this, or like this
the
guy,
video on the Hangar, what was that?
The Hangar 18.
You did like what, 7 different solos, like 7 different dudes, right?
Yeah, it was like all of the guitarists of Megadeth, like
what if they soloed here, right? Was that the concept?
Yeah, because they have a song Hangar 18 that's like there's like fucking like 13 solos or something on it, like something ridiculous.
I didn't realize that. That's okay.
But it just kind of so happened to line up with the exact amount of guitar players that Megadeth has had over the years, and I feel like Megadeth is really unique in this, in that like every guitar player they've had like has something unique about them, or like, you know, their style is so like either iconic or like distinguishable, where, you know, so I tried to play the solos of Hangar 18 like how they are, but with the style of all of the previous guitar players.
I thought it was a great idea.
Thanks.
I thought it was very cool. And I think you got a lot of hits on that, right?
Yeah, like there's been 2 videos where they've gotten articles in like Loudwire.
Okay.
So that was fucking awesome. And I did one a while ago where I like predicted what the new,
I saw that.
That one.
You took
that
it
one
from 3
got
different
Guitar
clips.
World, which was fucking like incredible to see.
That was in Guitar World?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Like I've been saying I'm gonna do this for like probably a year at this point, but I want to like take those and like print them out and like put them on my wall or some shit, because I'm just
you should, because that should remind you that when you're finding ways of reaching people, and that obviously. What did you do? You took it from 3 different clips.
Yeah, there was one so Dave Mustaine did a cameo video, like, and was like you know, showing someone who's like, hey, it's your birthday, like, you know, here's some of the new album, or, you know, something like that. And he was playing like the intro to one of their songs in there. There was another one where it was like I don't know if it was leaked or if it was something, but it was like it's like a camp that he did or something, and he like showed people like a riff from there or something. And
so like Indiana Jones, you sifted through this and you created what you thought the new song was going to be.
Yeah. And like I saw one video of one of the riffs, which ended up being Night Stalkers. There was like a rehearsal clip floating around somewhere. So like that kind of gave me an idea what the drums might sound like. And then so I kind of tried to take that intro riff and somehow merge in with the Night Stalkers riff, and then with that other riff that ended up being Junkie from that album. But I thought maybe it, you know, it kind of worked in the context of that other riff. But I did that, and then Megadeth likes to modulate up a whole step usually for their riffs, so like I did that in it, just to kind of add like the Megadeth flair to that, I guess. And then I tried to do 2 solos in the style of Dave Mustaine and Kiko, the current guitarist. And so yeah, that was basically. And
how many hits did you get on that?
I think that one's like around 150,000 right now, which was like incredible. Like, I couldn't believe it. So.
And you probably you got a lot more subscribers to your channel after that.
Yeah, like that was great. Like, you know, I've been kind of thinking of like switching, not like switching, but like you know, having the main focus of my channel kind of be like Megadeth related and like, you know, stuff like that. I had an idea for like a series that I think I'm going to do. I don't know if I mentioned it to you, but
we're supposed to do like some kind of you some kind of battle or something.
That too, I want to do for sure.
Yeah. But I don't want to battle you.
No, I don't want to fucking battle you. Are you crazy?
No, I don't want to battle you. I'd have to. No, but go ahead. Yeah, no. I remember you mentioned this, but so this was something else you're talking about. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking of doing like a lesson series of like, but I wanted to do it in a different way because I feel like there's like so many like lesson videos for metal out there on YouTube, which are like great. Like there's so many people that can teach the shit and do teach it better than me. So it's like, I don't want to fuck with that. Like that's,
but they're not you. What do you want to bring to it? That's different.
Well, what I want to bring is like a kind of taking people from like, you know, like ground zero, like just picking up a guitar and like using Megadeth songs to like teach people that, like, you know, the easiest Megadeth song is like, you know, like an E chord or something, like that's it. So like, you know, we'd start off with that. Then like the next video would be like, you know, here's how to, you know, play a power chord or something. And here's some easy Megadeth songs that use power chords. So like, you know, and just kind of, you know,
I think that's smart.
From there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think of something like a little different. Cause that's what I wish I had. Like there were like, when I was starting out, there was a lot of videos showing you how to do the stuff, like how to do power chords and all that, but like I had to learn it from, you know, like listening to the songs or looking up tabs, which I don't do anymore because I hate tabs, and like 99% of the time they're wrong.
That's the big problem is that but you've always been a guy that has gone to the recording and learn exactly what it's supposed to be. So there's two things involved with this. One is there's a market for incredibly virtuosic players, no doubt, millions of views, but breaking it down and knowing how to instruct and how you're talking about it makes a lot of sense. It's a much more intuitive way to learn the instrument because that's how you learned. Like when you were first learning, I don't think you just went out and bought the Mel Bay book and next thing you know you're playing.
Yeah, and it's also like I don't want it to be like boring for people. Like people that like Megadeth aren't trying to play like, at least starting out, like Mary Had a Little Lamb or something to start out. So like I figure
there's got to be a metal way to play that tune though.
Probably.
Mary Had a Little Lamb of God.
Maybe. But
sorry. That's so funny. Sorry. Yeah. I just was listening.
That's not a bad idea for a video though. I might take you up on that.
The wheels on the bus go round and round the mosh pit.
Hey, man, the wheels are turning.
Yeah. Maybe not take any advice from us, but because we have like 169 subscribers, but you know, but yeah, that's just you're figuring it out. That's great. That's wonderful. I love it. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I just want people to have like fun learning.
Because that's the way you learned. It was fun. You didn't dedicate your childhood to holding a guitar because you were trying to be the idea of discipline or any. It was fun, right? You was just natural. That's what you wanted to do. In fact, I love the picture of you with Mustaine.
Oh yeah.
There's like, how old are you in that?
It was probably around the time when I started, probably like 13 or something.
Have you ever seen that photo? It's a great photo. Just like he's a. I don't know. Obviously, I didn't go through a Megadeth phase when I was younger. So coming to him later is very cool. He seems like a pretty amazing human.
He's awesome. Like his story is incredible. Like how like everything that happened to him, and you know, I got kicked out of Metallica and then started Megadeth. It's you know.
So you started around when you were 13?
I think so. Probably around that time.
Were you like from the jump, were you like, oh, I want to be like a virtuoso, like I want to be a shredder? Like how long did it take for you to ramp up to being able to play things?
Sorry,
like
I'm so boring that you got to leave. No, but well, when I started playing, I was like, something clicked where I'm like, this is what I have to do. You know what I mean? I don't know. It was just a feeling that I got. It was the most fun thing ever. Like when I learned, one of the first riffs I learned was Symphony of Destruction, and like I played it on a clean setting because I didn't know what the fuck distortion was. And I still remember, like, as soon as I found out there was like a button, like a distortion button, I turned it on and I played it, and I was like, all right, this is game over. This is what I'm doing for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It was just like that. And I ever since, it's really been same attitude I have. There hasn't been one day really where I like seriously like don't want to do this as a career. I mean, of course, like everyone has days, they doubt themselves, do whatever, but I don't know. I just I have to do this, like, no matter what.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, like, even the parts that you transcribe and make videos out of, and like the techniques that you're so steeped in, like, are scary to me now. When I was first starting to play bass, I was like, had no coordination with the music. I was really into punk, and I like was having trouble learning punk songs by ear, and thinking the best I would do was like record like and tour in a van. Like I thought I would just be like a gritty punk musician. So I mean, being able to take like these techniques as far as you did, I just can't imagine what that looks like as a 13-year-old breaking down the hardest technical stuff. But you like what did it take having someone kind of point you in the right direction of like oh, do the tapping slowly, and this is like the exercises you can do to develop these techniques? Or were you good at, from the recordings and the videos, picking out your own way to deconstruct those things?
For a while, it was like just me kind of like listening to the stuff and watching shit on YouTube, like, how to do stuff. But there was definitely a lot of techniques. Like sweeping was one of them where I couldn't get that for the longest time. But I started probably like, I want to say like a year or 2 years after I started taking lessons with Steve Raleigh. I was taking lessons with him. Yep. And
I think I played a gig with him once.
Yeah, I love Steve. He does like Village Guitar Lessons, I think it's called.
Is he up by the
New Paltz?
That name sounds so familiar. I think I know.
Yeah, he's an amazing jazz guitarist. So like that, I kind of learned like the fundamentals of theory and all that stuff, because I wasn't interested in that when I first like started. I just wanted to fucking rock out. But then he started showing me scales, chords, and all that stuff. And then this guy, the same thing. Like just further.
I remember looking at Alan Holdsworth with you. You were, which is a mind-boggling kind of thing. But anyway, sweeping, you were saying, was that something that you got from Steve, or was that something you practiced on your own? Was that your question, Brad?
Or what you were able to do intuitively was you're saying that was kind of where it started you started needing more outside help? And I imagine I guess like
the outside help was more like the theory stuff and like the chords, and like I learned to like play things slow from him and then work my way up, because I always thought like I just just play it shittily fast and it's good enough. But I really like from lessons and stuff like that, I learned to play it slow and then work up to playing fast. I think you were a big advocate of that too. Like, if you can't play it
from the
slow,
time I met you, though,
fast.
you had a lot of ability. So
yeah, same. Since I've known you, you've been shred god. So it's interesting to hear where it comes from, because like I said, like I came from a point where I couldn't even conceptualize teaching myself like to play at a reasonable speed, let alone like all the advanced techniques that you use. So it's I feel like if you're approaching that kind of stuff for your channel and trying to give people an insight into that, I don't think that's something a run-of-the-mill YouTube channel can really get across to everybody.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing I'm afraid of, like with my channel, and that's like, I don't know, I haven't really been posting a lot recently, just because like it's part of that where I don't want to do things that it's like there's already like a million videos of people doing these things. It's like a weird, like, I don't know, like that. Also like the anxiety stuff that I'm telling you, like that's been like fucking kicking my ass lately. So I just been trying to deal with that. But I got to get back on like the videos and all that stuff for the channel, because like I don't know, I love doing it. It definitely takes my mind off stuff. But
I think the way you're talking about it, though, is probably how you approached it, which was, it was through music that you practiced music. I mean, I think, I don't know if that's what you're looking for. Like, you got better at playing Megadeth because you listened to it and you took what you had and developed your tools as you were learning to play those types of things.
Yeah, for sure. Like playing the songs horrifically, but at least like somewhat getting through them, and then like going back little by little and like keep playing them and just being like, oh, this part sounds wrong. Like I'm doing something different here.
That's
like
the
what
way,
is he doing? Like,
right. That, like, Wayne Krantz wrote a book called The Improviser's OS. I don't know if either one of you have ever. Do you know Wayne? I mean,
Yeah, a little.
Wayne's he's Wayne Krantz. He's his own thing. But in his book, he says, when you're practicing, record it, whatever it is.
Oh yeah, that was a big thing for me. Like when I heard shit that I recorded.
That's how you get better. So he would say, record it, listen back to it. And he said, most likely you're going to hate it, which is what we all do. But then he says something that I had never heard anybody else. It makes sense. You intuitively do this, but I don't know if you put it into thought, which was, you hate it. Okay, fine. What don't you like about it? Because he said, if you can, this was some of the greatest advice I ever read. If you can figure out what you don't like about it, you can work towards making it what you do like. As long as you can, because discovering who you are is finding out what you don't like, right? Because if you can eliminate that part of it, then you can lead yourself down the path of, how do I get it to what I want it to be? And that's what you're doing. Whether you're consciously doing it or not, you can't accidentally develop the ability that you have on the instrument. However, I don't think you can develop that ability if you're not hearing it.
Right. That was a big thing, like for like developing my ear for that stuff. Like, like for a while, I just like, and I think that's with everyone when they're just starting out. It's like you're playing it, you think it sounds awesome, and then like, you know, months later you go back, you know, like what the fuck was I hearing? Like the shit is like so out of tune and so like just nonsense. Yeah. And like you know, just kind of honing that in, I think helped a lot. Yeah. That's like when I do like another kind of like, I don't want to say series I do on YouTube or whatever, but like something I do is I like, as soon as new songs come out, I try to put out covers like as soon as possible.
And that's really smart. I know you had a lot of you covered a tune that was released the same day. That's absurd. Like you played all of Dave's shit the day this Megadeth tune came out. I forget when that was.
Yeah, it was.
But the first 1,000 comments were like, "Damn, dude, that's been out for 6 hours. How did you do?" Like,
because I try to catch people that are like looking for the song.
Right,
like,
right.
No, that just came out.
That's
so,
really
like,
smart.
I don't know.
Yeah,
but
really
the
smart.
ear is like a big thing with that because like yeah, you could put out a cover and have it be like close to it, but like I don't want to do that. I want to put it out if it's like perfect. Like if it's like, obviously it's not perfect, but like it's, you know, close enough where there's not like glaring mistakes. You know what I mean? Like if I'm going to cover it, like I want to do it right, you know. And but even that, like I look back on videos that I posted like a couple months ago. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, you know?
Yeah, same.
It's just constantly.
Anybody who's had any success on YouTube always says the same, or a lot of success will always just keep posting. Because that's like, if you keep waiting, it's sort of like, it's the same idea as like if you were 18 and like didn't want to play any live shows because you don't feel like you're ready yet. And the fact of the matter is you're never going to feel like you're ready. So but you get better you can't get that experience any other way. The only way to get better playing live is to play live. Yeah. So
that's the problem I have with videos too, is like I'm such like a perfectionist, I guess, with things that like I just, you know, sometimes I post, you know, maybe like 5 videos in like 2 weeks or something like crazy like that, and then, you know, I don't post for like 3 months or something, and like, you know, it sucks, but I don't know.
But in those 3 months you're probably doing other, it's hard to do basically.
It's like, and you know, I'm doing one thing and then I feel like, you know, I'm getting better at this, like I was telling you about, like I'm playing in a pit band for Mamma Mia, like the musical, where like it's all just sheet music, and that's something I'm so not comfortable with, but like I'm learning and getting better at it because, you know, eventually I want to try to, move someplace where I can, get session jobs hopefully, and then maybe from that, maybe that could lead me into like getting into a, established act or something. I don't know. There's so many like just different variables for everything that I have no idea really what the fuck to do to make that happen.
Trying to see what sticks.
Yeah, I'm just trying everything, but at the same time, like I'm slaving away at like the learning music, doing that stuff, and then like my channel doesn't get as much attention as I would like, and it's like it's constant like tug of war that
But all this new professional experience you can turn into stuff for your channel.
That's true.
Because obviously you can cover reading at some point, like and what you thought was expected of you reading. Like I know with sight reading for guitar players is keep you up nights, and I when I was younger I learned everything by ear, and then I would dissect, I would transcribe people that I loved, or just through listening to it and kind of through osmosis of playing, practicing those things, you start to develop along the ideas of what you hear. But that, I would say that's the most important part, is how you hear it. Like I would love to be able to hear things rapid Yngwie, alternate picking, 64th notes. I simply don't hear it that way, and so I don't have the insight into how to develop that. But when I hear George Benson, I'm like, yeah, that's what
I'd love to hear shit like that. So you want to switch?
I'm just saying, like, I think that's what you practice. The one part of it that has to be acknowledged is you're practicing towards what you're hearing. Like, it's a mystery to me to play like Yngwie, or to do the things that you're doing with those rapid lines and the sweep picking. But you hear it that way, and you work towards developing the ability to play what you're hearing. Is that fair?
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm just saying, like, without that part of it, you're building what it is you're doing, is all I'm saying. But as far as reading, I wasn't. I in my 20s, I didn't practice reading, but I had to read. So I realized that the anxiety I was having about reading, I just was like, I just took the gig, and we'll see what happens. And the pressure of, okay, when you don't know until you get on the pit band for Mamma Mia, and then you see the parts. So the worst that can happen is, I don't know what to do with this. Then you take it home.
I have nightmares about that.
You take it home and you start working towards it. Like, I've done enough Broadway style things to know that, number one, that no one really throws the music at you day of. Like, that's a big fear. Like, am I going to have to play this concert having never seen it? That in my life, I don't know if that's happened. I don't remember. Oh, I guess some did, because I grew up my father played in pit band, so I would sub sometimes. So that was when an act would come in. That's if you're in a professional orchestra that has a different act every night. So when I was growing up, my father worked in the hotels in the area, and there was 2 shows a night, every night, 7 days a week, and it was always a different act, and they always had their own book. So you had to read. That was sight reading that. But I remember in my 20s, I remember auditioning for Saturday Night Live, and I might have told you this story, but like
I was going to ask you about that.
Lenny Pickett said to me in the audition, "Don't worry, we would never give you something day of. You will have plenty of time. You'll have the music long in advance." And then we rehearse. That day, they said, started out at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning, and they rehearsed this stuff that you were given at least a week prior. So like that, I didn't know that. Like, I'm thinking TV gig starts at 11:30. At 11:15, they gave you the charts.
That's what I would think.
Yeah, no, it's not at all that. It wasn't at all that. So that was, but he knew that. He's like, no, it's never that. That would never. So that was one of my biggest fears, which might have kept me from auditioning. But instead, I was like, let's just see what happens. So, but then I did a cruise ship gig, and that was one of these things where acts come in every,
I've been looking into some of those.
Yeah,
and that's another reason why I want to get my sight.
I got a lot better at reading on that gig. I screwed up a bunch of stuff, but what you screw up, if you're musical, you can kind of cover it. Like if it says, here's a D minor chord, this is the line we want you to play, and you look at the shape of it, you quickly can assess, like, oh, here's the key signature, there's no accidentals, so it's a diatonic line. You get the shape of it, and no one's going to really, like, it's not, you can fail but still kind of successfully get through it. But I learned a lot about reading just because if I would have said no because I didn't feel my reading was up to spec, there was no way I was going back to my practice room to practice reading 8 hours a day for the next year. Instead, the pressure of it was enough to get me doing it. But I got better at reading shows because I read shows. But it's not a tool you can practice reading, but I feel like the best way to practice reading is to read when there's some pressure on you, and that's when you'll practice it. The rehearsals are during the day. Whatever I screwed up on during the rehearsal, I went back and practiced before the show. So like it was never, I can't remember a thing where I've completely screwed up having to sight read something in front of an audience. There's usually a rehearsal, there's usually time to get it together. And I know as a guitarist, you have to find a fingering for something that's really, you can always tell if the person who wrote the chart is a guitarist or knows anything about the guitar. You can tell immediately just by looking at it. Like, what moron wrote that? That's not a, anyway, yeah. So that there was just the experience of doing it that makes you better at it. So all the fear and anxiety that you have, I just take every gig you can get. Like, this is a musical, I'm sure the pressure it's like, is this a high school thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
very low pressure, but
it's
like
a great experience.
I put a lot of pressure on because I want it to be perfect, like no matter what I do. But
yeah. And then there's what your brother does on Broadway. Mm-hmm. And he'll tell you that they don't usually give you new music before the downbeat of the night. He's playing the same, if he's playing a show, that show's the same every night.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you get the book. I know guys who sub. You get the book long in advance. You don't just show up. And I remember when I did this traveling Broadway thing, they sent us all the tracks, and then I had to correct every chart because they updated the songs but didn't update the charts. So the road maps were all different. Like, luckily, it took me about a week of straight up work to fix all the charts. And then we did a rehearsal. I fixed them all again because there was other changes. And then we went out and did a week tour. But I screwed up a couple of things. Like, I had to transition between acoustic guitar and electric guitar, and then this other thing. You don't get the flow of it though until there's no way you can practice that. You have to just get in the fire and do it.
It's a scary part to me, but I know it's scary for everyone. But
it's scary until you do it and realize that as bad as you thought it could be, it's never that bad.
Yeah,
it's just not. Like, if worse comes to worse and you're supposed to play something and you just bail and don't play it, the show goes on. No one gives a shit. No one, like, you know, the band leader might care. I had a band leader curse me out because I bailed on something. But do you think that the 1,500 guests that just stuffed their fat faces with steak and pasta and were sunburned from because this was a cruise ship, and you think that's what ruined their night? Like, in the middle of playing for the Ink Spots, I bailed on one 4-bar phrase. No, everybody's going to be fine. So just keep doing what you're doing, I guess.
I would demand my money back.
Yeah. I bet you would. We were playing in a 12-piece orchestra with tracks, with a click track, the whole show, click. Like, we would play and there'd be 30 singers on these tracks, and there's only 2 singers on stage, and you'd have people come up and say, man, the band sounded, it's amazing. The singers sound amazing. Like, yeah, they're all pre-recorded, but okay.
All they were like playing, like pumping in.
We were playing 2 tracks. We were a 12-piece band that had the string section coming through the speakers. There was no string sections in the pit band on a cruise ship.
I don't know if you've been like following like metal news or whatever, but like that's a whole, like,
what
recently that's been a whole thing. Yeah, it's a 67. But yeah,
what's happening in metal news?
It's like, I mean, it's kind of old at this point, I guess, but Falling in Reverse had to cancel a show because like their laptops got, you know, I don't know, like lost on the way to the show or something like that. But then Eddie Trunk was like, I'm sure you can know like what his viewpoint was, like, hey, it's fucking ridiculous. And then somehow Sebastian Bach got in the fold, like, you know, like, you're not a real band, like stuff like that.
It's a good impression of Sebastian Bach, actually.
You're not a real band, man. Like,
he probably could have used a laptop for some of those later performances, though.
Yeah, I saw him at the Rockin' Derby. I think we might have talked about that show a couple times. Okay. It was like at I think it was 2016 or something. Like, it was up here in Shattuck. They had like bands like Anthrax, Megadeth, like, but Sebastian Bach was playing on it.
Was it in that band, Skid Row, or
no? This is just him solo.
Okay,
I thought he sounded great.
Absolutely. There's some videos of him trying to. In his prime, hands down, one of the greatest rock and roll singers. Unbelievable.
He was awesome.
Unreal. I love that first album. I was in high school, so like that's like the soundtrack. It was awesome. I never saw them live.
I think I'd graduated college by the time that came out.
The Skid Row album, that would be 1988.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're the same age as what you're saying. That makes sense. Yeah. And when you hear him sing live in that era, it's amazing. It sounds incredible. Like he's all of that. But it's hard to live hard for 30 years and then do the same thing. But I know he was doing Broadway. I never saw it, but I wanted to. I forget what show he was doing, but
really?
Yeah, it was like a for real Broadway, like Phantom of the Opera or one of those things. Like he was ask Tom, he would probably know.
Oh, yeah, would know better than me. You guys are burning up all these people.
You never were a Skid Row fan?
Yeah, I'm unfamiliar with them. A bunch of the like bands, I hardly know any Megadeth. Like I just don't. I'm not as savvy.
I don't know as much. I can't hang with that.
I know Greta Van Fleet though.
Yeah,
I love her tweets about Andrew Tate.
Jesus. but do you even know what he's referring? Yeah, that one you might have.
Greta Thunberg. I don't know whatever the fuck her name is. Like Andrew Tate.
No, but actually, I don't know any.
Sigma
I don't really know what Greta Van Fleet is either. But so there's so much of the stuff that you're an expert in that I'm so not versed in. But I do think the listeners might appreciate two fantastic guitarists talking a little bit about our recently passed Jeff Beck as of yesterday.
Yeah, did I text you about that? Or
yeah.
Yeah.
It was funny. I got probably 15 or so texts with just Jeff Beck and then the crying emoji, but it was like all within 4 minutes of it actually happening. I forget who actually broke the news to me. I can't remember who. You were, but it was like all within 3 minutes. And you were part of that group.
I think we were talking about something too. Like I never want to be like that guy, like the bad news guy. Like I hate that. I hate that fucking guy. Like,
I love the silent, like just change your picture to the guy who died on Facebook. Change your pro, and I was like, oh, why are you posting? Oh, like yeah.
I fucking hate that.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of that guy either. But I just saw Jeff Beck play, and I had sent you the picture in October, and it's a loss for the entire human. That's a terrible loss. Yeah. And by the time this airs in another week or so, but it happened yesterday, and what a horrible way to. I mean, I know they said he went peacefully, but I saw him. He just looked great, man. He's playing just astounding. So yeah, it's a terrible loss. I mean, it happens, but there's nobody on the planet, not even remotely, and there's just that dude. That's what's amazing about someone like that. There's just nobody else who could possibly do that.
Well, yeah, I'm not, like I said, I'm no Jeff Beck expert, but I do love his playing. His style is
a Beckspert. Okay, obviously you don't know what you're talking about.
Sorry,
it's just Jeff Beckspert.
You should get a shirt that says that.
Jeff Beck's nerd. I'm not gonna lie, I looked for my Jeff Beck t-shirt today and then I couldn't find it. I was like, all right, well, Count Basie will have to do, but yes. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I know a little bit of his albums, Wired and Blow by Blow. Is there any other deep cuts you would suggest to me in particular, or listeners who are interested?
I liked his version of a Stratus. Billy Cobham.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was fucking awesome.
I didn't know he has a version of that. Okay.
I don't know if I know that, but that makes sense that he would play. Oh wait, is that on the live? Is it live or is it studio?
Shit, I'm actually not sure. I know I used the backing track of like his version, and like I could be completely fucking wrong and just like saying shit out of my ass. But
I just can't remember if there was a live version of there was a live recording of him and. The guitar. I'm just spacing on his name. Hans
Zimmer.
Yeah, I know, but Hans. Wait, isn't that his name? Hans Zimmer. Wait, no, that's a direct
film score.
Yeah. Anyway, I sound completely ridiculous that I'm spacing on his name, but
there's a lot of live versions of Stratus.
Yeah.
Sorry to completely interrupt.
Yeah. Jan Hammer. excuse me, that's the keyboard player. There's a live record of them, a couple, I guess, but one starts out. Anyway, that's why I was asking. I love the early Jeff Beck group. Like there's a recording, one of my favorites is just called Jeff Beck Group. It was literally recorded 50 years ago, and it's with the singer Bobby Tench. I don't know, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, and that's one of my favorite records. And it's like Glad All Over, and it's just, they're just live. I love that about Jeff Beck. It was like just the way he played, the way he sounded, and when you see him live, like that's the second time I've seen him, and there's nothing like it. It's loud and beautiful, and there's a pocket, and then the touch that he had. It's like I haven't heard a Jeff Beck record that I didn't love.
I like his stuff with Stevie Wonder too. Like he was on a Talking Book, I think.
Was he on that? I didn't know that.
I know Stevie was on. He was on one of the songs on Blow by Blow, wasn't he? Or
well, he wrote "Cause We Ended as Lovers." That's a
Stevie Wonder wrote that.
Stevie Wonder wrote that.
Oh shit! Okay, I did not know
he
that.
Also, I don't know the entire story, but as far as I know, Stevie wrote "Superstition" for Jeff Beck, and then Jeff Beck did record "Superstition," but Stevie, I think he wrote it for Jeff, and I know there'll be plenty of comments to tell us if I'm right or wrong. And then Stevie did a version of it and liked it too much, and I don't know if there was words over it or not, but he ended up, the rest is history. And that's a tune that changed, the way Stevie did that changed the trajectory of who he was playing for. That was all with Malcolm Cecil too. That's who we've spoken about here a bunch of times, just because he lived 30 miles that way. Did you know Malcolm is the engineer that did Talking Book?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the synth sounds that you hear on there is all with the synthesizer that he created called Tonto.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love that album.
Oh my God. Yeah, all of those sounds. I think Stevie's playing drums on a lot of that. But might be all of it. I can't remember. But all of those sounds were made with this. You could just look it up. Tonto, Malcolm Cecil. He passed, I think, 2 years ago now. At 80, he was 80, something in his early 80s. But I love all that, the stuff with Rod Stewart, and then Bobby Tench kind of had that high tenor voice as well. I love all that stuff. Like that's, but I haven't heard of. I just saw him play with Johnny Depp, and I haven't heard the record he made with Johnny Depp.
Yeah, I found out that was a thing yesterday, but I haven't heard it.
So what was funny about that is there's people want to hate Johnny Depp. People like Amber Heard. People
primarily.
people like it was really funny because on the way out of the theater there were people like kind of ragging on Johnny. Because Johnny plays guitar and he sings. I had no problem with John. There's a couple things. Johnny Depp comes out, and that, regardless of how you feel him, that dude's that's a bona fide star.
Yeah.
Like, and when you see him come out, women lost their minds. Like all the people talking,
I would too.
all the people talking trash about him were dudes. None of the women had any problem with like I've always been a fan of seeing certain people and watching the audience's reaction to them. Another one was my wife and I saw Prince. I think we might have spoken about this, but we saw Prince maybe 10 years ago. I think like 2012. We were ninth row. He comes out in these bedazzled leather pants and a very sparkly pair of Converse, but you realize when you're that close, you realize he was not a very tall man. I mean, people talk about this, but as soon as he comes out, he did it without doing a thing that you focus. You can't help it. You see him and you're like, there's something very godlike special about this dude. But he sat at the piano and he sang The Beautiful Ones, and I was like, oh shit, this is amazing. And then I thought, let me look around. I look and I see my wife. She's never made that look with me ever. I saw a depth that I didn't know how to feel. I was like, oh, that's amazing. And then I was like, wait, like, and then I looked around and every person in the audience looked exactly the same way. I was the only idiot, like kind of like, oh, what's everybody look like? But it was there's certain people, and Johnny Depp comes out on stage, and that's what happens. It's not because he didn't say a word. And he happened to be in the news a lot.
Yeah.
This was October, so I don't think that case was finished yet, or maybe it was. Anyway, my point is, people were saying, we're ragging on Johnny for his guitar playing and for his singing for whatever reasons. I didn't have a problem with either one, but I was literally right in front of where Jeff was, and so Johnny's playing, but Jeff's also playing, and it's astounding. He's just playing chords underneath Johnny. It was a revelation just to hear what he was doing, how in tune he was with everything going on the stage. And then it didn't matter. Every time he just, the whole time, anything that came out of him was absolutely magnificent and beautiful. And his energy is great. I mean, you don't think when you see Jeff Beck like, oh, he's 78. He looks like he does on any other video I've seen. He just plays magnificent. So I guess my point is, there isn't anything he's ever done that I've been like, meh. Mm-hmm. It's just absolutely astounding. And there's a guy who doesn't play a ton of 64th note runs.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays, especially, I'm starting to like that, playing a lot more than just like the fast stuff all the time. I mean, when I was growing up, like I have to say, I was like, it's the coolest shit ever, like the like just a million notes. But I had
every Yngwie album. I had all the books, and I even bought videos. This is before YouTube.
And the pants too.
Yeah, I never went through a leather pants stage, but I had a fake Rolex. It wasn't because of Yngwie, but
you have a Porsche, so that's kind of close to a Ferrari.
Yeah, no, I have a Prius.
Oh yeah,
yeah, you missed. It's close. But there's a guy though that is straight up music, straight up melody, and everybody's drawn to him, and it's just because he's making music. But that's how you get the feeling that everything he's playing, he absolutely hears. That's the way he hears it. He doesn't even play. He wasn't even playing he hasn't played with a pick in I don't know how long, decades. That early stuff, he's using a pick, and he's also using, I believe, a Les Paul. And now, for as long as you can, since then, it's always been a Strat and his fingers. But it's not the speed metal thing. It's not. But nobody has the chops he has. Nobody sounds. That's just who he was. So it's, I don't know if that's probably rambled more than answered a question. But there isn't anything I've heard that I didn't absolutely love.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just thought it would be nice to talk about. Nice for me to get some more info because I'm no expert. No, I'm no Bexpert, but he is sick.
Yeah. I don't know how much of him play. I don't know what a role he's played in. When you were growing up, if that dude was ever on your radar.
Not as much as he probably should. I definitely should have checked out more of him growing up, but I don't know.
You got time.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of time. You'll be all right.
Feels like it doesn't. I feel like I'm fucking old.
Dude, then there's absolutely no hope for me at this point.
Yeah. What are you, like
71? Yeah. Yeah, I knew 70 was coming out of your mouth. But yeah, you've changed. Like when I first met you, it was all about this particular thing. But then I bumped into you last year, and it was all about the Beatles.
Yeah.
Are you still?
Totally, still, yeah, of course. I love them. Can't get enough. They were my most listened to artist. Like that stupid Spotify Wrapped shit. That was my number one artist, and In My Life was my number one song.
And you covered that.
Yeah. Well, I just did like a little thing for like the anniversary of John Lennon's death. So I just did a little of that. I do want to do a full cover of a Beatles song though, because I wanted to get a tux and everything for it, and really just go all out on it because I love the Beatles so much.
And which were never on your radar before.
No, I always thought they sucked, but I think that was just my dad talking.
Oh, your dad doesn't like the Beatles?
No.
Oh, it happens. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Paul McCartney. I think I told you at MetLife this past summer.
Oh wow! No, you didn't tell me.
One of the best shows I've ever seen. Just amazing. You know, I mean, played one of my favorite Beatles songs is Something.
That's probably my favorite Beatles song.
Yeah, so we did a whole like tribute to George, and you know, it was awesome. And it was Get Back that really like got me into the Beatles, because like for a while that old production style I wasn't a huge fan of.
Oh, you mean the Apple? I mean, was that on Apple TV? Is that where? Oh no, Disney.
Yeah, like I got Disney Plus like just for that, because I was like, you know what, might as well check it out. You know, I've been getting into the older stuff. You know, so might as well check out the group that influenced pretty much everyone and see what they were doing. And I'm very glad I did.
Yeah.
So I saw that documentary. I watched the whole thing, and it was really, I listened to the Let It Be album, and I was like, all right, you know, I get it now. You know, it's really
that's an amazing, yes. Yeah, that whole...
I just went back and, you know, just everything. I love everything about them. So.
That's great. So that's definitely getting you in touch with something different.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. Pretty wild. I never would have seen that one coming.
I know, I didn't either. I always thought it would be all heavy all the time. I don't know why I did this. Like, I'm wearing fucking glasses. I saw you doing it. I was like, yeah, that looks like a fucking good idea.
That looks like a cool thing to do. Like, watch the old guy adjust his glasses.
What a fucking douche I am. But, I love everything about him. And I love, like, a lot of softer music I've been getting into, like
Drake.
You know, I fucking love Drake, man. Rap music, I actually wrote this down because I wanted to bring it up. I fucking love rap music.
You had to write that down? You wouldn't remember the whole sentence?
This whole time I've been talking, I just wrote a transcript for it. You know, but yeah, I fucking love rap music.
Anybody grabbing you?
Drake, man. I don't know what about it, but I just fucking love it.
He's sexy.
He is, you know what? I ain't afraid to say it.
Yeah, knock yourself out, man. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, but now, like, really, like, all kinds of music I've just been, you know, just getting into, and it's been influencing my style. Maybe not the rap so much, into the guitar playing. Well, Lil Wayne has some killer chops.
What about, what about...
Did you see that video?
Yes.
Okay.
The guitar playing video?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. No, but I thought it was Lil Pump.
Oh yeah, there was a point, and it was him and Tekashi 6ix9ine. You remember when I was like,
yes, no, I do,
deep into that stuff.
Yeah,
like I loved that shit. Because it started off as a joke. I would just like listen to it, be like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. But then like third time listening to it, I'm like, okay. You know, just having it on from like parties and stuff, or like bars or anything. You know, it's like, I might as well just like listen to it to see if I like it, rather than just being like, this music sucks. Like, you know, that's fucking no fun. You know, I just, you know, that's what I'm doing nowadays. I'm just trying to have fun, because I feel like for a long time I was just like focused on, you know, music, and like that's it. Like, I can't have fun. I can't, like, I gotta practice guitar 24/7 and be focused on it. And it's like, that's just it. Just for me at least, it just wasn't healthy, because then it, you know, that really like kickstarted the anxiety, you know, especially after college, because then I felt like, okay, like at least in college I was like working towards something, but you know, after college I'm like, what the fuck am I doing now? Like what am I gonna do, you know? So I feel like I really missed out on a lot of like fun times, I guess. So, you know, I don't know, I know it's a weird way of looking at it, and I did have fun, of course, but like, I don't know, I don't know what I'm really trying to get at, but
well,
I'm just trying to have fun.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do,
to let myself have fun.
Yeah.
Another question I had before about, you know, like the feeling of anxiety as it relates to being an artist. You know, I would call myself pretty introverted, but I like my like extroversion in the context of doing art, and I feel very at home. Like we were saying, like, he's a different person when he's on stage performing, and you probably, a lot of the nerves fall away once you start performing. So like a feeling I get a lot is I don't feel very comfortable being out, or like as comfortable as I could be until I've performed for people. If I'm like at a bar, I've played bass, or if I'm there to play bass, or like just I'm there to be a bassist, I'm much more comfortable. But if I'm just there to be a person at the venue, I'm not good at that. Like, that's when I start to feel uncomfortable and like I should leave, is if I'm not there to be doing that sort of thing? Like, is that something you relate to?
I do 100%. Yeah, I get that same thing. Absolutely. Like, I either have to be in like a zone where like, you know, I'm with my friends, you know, talking, like we're having a great time. And then we go to like a bar or something. Then I'm like, okay, you know, I'm feeling kind of good. You know, I can talk to people, whatever. But it just depends too, because sometimes it's like, you know, I hanging out with my friends, whatever, go out, it's the same thing, and I just close up, you know. And you know, most of the time after like gigs or something, I feel like pretty good, like you know, I did the thing that gives me confidence, because you know, I know we've talked about like, you know, how guitar like is kind of, I've worked that into my confidence in such a way where it's like, if I don't have a guitar, I just have no self-confidence at all. So yeah, I've been trying to work on that, but for sure relate to that 100%.
Yeah, because that's like you're saying about like you think like overthinking things before you perform, and then feeling like the nerves shedding away once you're really playing. Like that's something I relate to in music, and like trying to do like open mics for comedy. It's like I'll get so much more nerves building up to it, and then when I'm actually up doing it, I feel better, and then afterwards I'm so much more at peace, just because it's like I've shown everyone what I want to show them, and course, so now I don't have to act like, I don't have to try to act like a normal person. It's like I got out what I wanted to get out, and now I feel much more comfortable around people.
Yeah, like, it's like you're like validated, I guess, to like be in that space and like talk to people, you know. And like, yeah, that was a issue for me for a while too, was like getting over that thing. And like, I still, believe me, I deal with it. Like it's so random sometimes, where like sometimes I just feel confident and I'm like, okay, like I can talk to people, whatever, you know, do anything. But yeah, like I didn't know for a while, I didn't know what to like talk about other than guitar, because I just didn't do anything other than guitar. I mean, what am I going to talk to a fucking girl about pentatonic scales? I mean, what the fuck? Like, you know, like
the right girl.
Maybe, but
yeah, no, yeah, I hear.
Like, you know, I just had like nothing to talk about. It was fucking boring. You know?
You gotta watch like
arguably still am, but
arguably, yeah. No, but you gotta watch some Lifetime movie network stuff.
I do with my grandma, and that shit sucks.
I'm just saying, if you want some,
I was just talking about my grandma, not the.
Yeah, I was gonna say with the shows, there's also, you can't underestimate what you get back from the energy of the audience, and that is what usually frees you. If you did, it's interesting. Like I've played for 6 people, and I've played for, you know, a few thousand people, and as long as they're into it, it feels the same way. Like it's hard when it's background. It is what it is, but I'm saying if there's people engaged, then that's a very free, that's a beautiful feeling when you feel like you've communicated something and you've made a connection. And I feel much more grounded when there's a connection. But I feel the same way if I feel like I did a good job teaching, or you just the energy of being around. It's the isolation. If you feel isolated, that feels horrible. That's probably, and then you start to go down the anxiety part of things, or the OCD side of things, or where you're trying to think your way to being peaceful. I mean, it usually doesn't work that way. Usually it works with, if you have a good show, whether it's comedy or writing or playing, if there's a reaction from the audience and they support you, they kind of buoy you and keep you raised up. I don't think that should be underestimated. I think it's probably why we do it.
Yeah.
To make that connection. Yeah.
Even with this, like in the beginning, like, you know, I was feeling so like introverted and, you know, not confident and like fucking nervous, but, you know, now I feel like this is kind of like closer to, you know, what I'm like normally, you know, because now I feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff has to do with
you're here.
Yeah, I'm leaving shortly.
Damp around.
A lot of that stuff is your fear of not being able to connect is far worse than your actual ability to connect. Like you walked in, we made fun of the normal people we made fun of, and we went about what we were doing, and we were like, it was immediate. You didn't have time to think, oh, this is I'm going to be introverted, I'm going to do this or that. It's the fear of those things that drives that part of it, and that's why I'm saying, like, being aware of it, that behavioral thing that I did, MAP, it helps so much to realize like all of the same. It felt different every time I had a panic attack, and every time it was a loss of control. It was the feeling of what could go wrong. If you thought about what could go wrong on a regular basis, you're never going to leave the house. Nobody would. The idea, like the things that happen to us that are possible to happen to human beings, if you went through all that on a daily basis, you will never leave the house. And then you would trip on a shoe and fall down and break your neck and die alone. That's one scenario. Anyway, I'm just saying, like the more you think about those things, the worse it's going to get, and you just don't think about them when you're free, and when you're free when you have a guitar in your hand and playing your ass off. So, yeah. I
don't know. Does that feel like a?
That feels like an episode. How's that feel for you?
Sure.
Yeah.
But no, like seriously though, it's really good to see you, man. It's been too long, and
it's fucking great to see
like
you
I said, since I've known you,
been years.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, man. Like I don't think I've seen you the whole pandemic era since I moved away from Albany originally. But seriously, dude, since I've known you, inspiring. You're virtuoso, dude. And
Stop it.
I second that.
Great to see you.
Yeah, it's great to hang out and
so
hear
much.
what's going on. You want to pitch anything? I know you have your YouTube channel.
Tent right now.
Oh my god. A pants tent. I get it. Yeah. What's your channel?
My channel is Shawn McNair, spelled the correct way. SHAWN, baby.
I know you have. I have 3 different Shawns in my 3. They're all spelled completely. I have all of them in my phone. It's so fun. I have an SHAUN.
Yeah, that's disgusting. One of my best friends growing up was SEAN.
I had
another kid SHAUN in my class.
Yeah,
he was a fucking loser.
It's great, man. I feel like you're really supporting everybody and their ability to find their way in this world.
Exactly.
Yeah. You want to encourage him to change his name, right?
You should. You know what? Spell it right or don't spell it at all.
That's right. Yeah. So Shawn McNair, spelled the correct way.
Yes.
McNair.
Yep.
What else? You pitching anything else? You gonna be doing lessons on there?
Yeah, I'll probably start doing more of that stuff. At least like lesson videos. But yeah, stuff like that.
Are you gonna try to tie into Patreon, or is it like OnlyFans? Which one are you doing?
I'm leaning more towards the latter.
Yep.
But yeah, no, maybe Patreon. I actually had a couple people say that I should.
You absolutely should.
Yeah.
Yep. That seems to be the model, especially with lessons. You create one, and then there's people who you'll find like that's what's going to be. I think will really support you as well. And I don't mean financially, but I just mean to feel like you're making that connection. Like as soon as you do this series, which I think is a great idea of leveling Megadeth tunes for styles, because most people, like this is what I was going to say earlier, when you have someone like a virtuoso that gets millions of hits, most people are trying to figure out like, what do I do to sound like that? I guess you just practice this, and it's like that's the through music when you realize like that you can help people get to what they want to get. A lot of people want to do these types of things. Like you can't start out playing like Yngwie or Dave Mustaine. It takes time. So doing it that way, where they're still playing music of their heroes, but leveling it so that they can get to it at an early stages and help them train themselves to get better, but having fun. I think that's a great model, and people will pay you through Patreon for, like, you could do either a group lesson or make available the documents that go along with the lesson, and that's a great model. I see a lot of people doing that. You'll feel good too. You'll feel connected, just like you feel like on a stage. You'll feel connected. I don't know how many if you have students now.
No.
Oh, so when that happens, you'll see it's the same exact feeling, especially when they're like, "Thank you, this has been so great. This has helped me." Like you'll feel like a connection to another human, and that's priceless.
Do you feel connected to me?
Not really, but I have Brad. You'll make a connection on OnlyFans, but it's different.
That's right. Lord knows.
Anyway, this has been wonderful. It's great to see you. Great to chat. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so follow Shawn on YouTube. Check out Last of Fall's recent EP. like the video, comment on it, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, please.
Right. The Mink and the Monk.
For God's sake. But this has been fun.
This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Till the next time.
Yep. That's the episode.
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty. Yeah, if I have any more coffee, there'll be a Call of Duty.
Yeah, my head hurts. I don't know if it's the headphones or the coffee. I'm buzzing, but
it's probably a little both. But yes, we'll have to kill some zombies.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Is that it?
I'll hold you to that.
It's so hard. It's so much anxiety. When you close your eyes and you see them coming at you, it's like I knew I played too much.
Yeah, that's true.
But yes, it's been a while. We'll do it again. Cool. Keep us posted on things. Are we out?
Sweet. Yep, that's the episode. Cool. See, it gets worse every time we do it.
It does get worse. So
I really have to pee. All right,
okay, let's do it. Here we go. See you on the next one.